The next subject we're going to cover is the weapon hand reload. There's a few different ways to do reloads with your weapon hand, but I'm going to break down the use of the holster. The use of the holster, in my opinion, is very valuable, and the reason why is because the holster was designed to hold the gun. And now we're talking about doing a speed reload. And when we're looking at a kneeling position, we can do this. When we're looking at a standing position, we can utilize a holster. And if I also have to do this on the move, we can do that as well. Whereas some of the other techniques that are out there, which are good techniques as well, and we're going to go over those, is that our position becomes a little bit more permanent in nature for a few seconds, because we might have to stop, leg pinch the gun, and or stop, go to a knee, put the gun behind the back of our leg in order to facilitate a reload. So again, there's pros and cons. Right now what we're going to do is we're going to break down the use of the holster to perform the reload. So let's cover if we're at slide lock. Some guns may be in a slide forward position and we may have to cycle them off the rear sight. But right now we're going to look at the slide is locked to the rear. Some of you guys, we covered this in the normal speed reload, may have to break your grip just a little bit. Some people may have to take this finger right here in order to depress. So you may have to come around the gun in a slightly different manner in order to access this magazine release, depending upon how big your hand is. So the first thing that I want to do is let the magazine go out of the gun. If you're having a hard time because it's kind of stuck, we can bring our leg up to help facilitate this as well. What we don't want to do is we don't want to go elbow into muscle. I want to try to get the forearm right here as flat as possible and still allowing the magazine a way out. But mag's out of the gun. Back to the holster. I grab my spare mag, I insert it into the gun, and then I have the option of slide release and or cycling it off the holster. I could do that as well. If my gun during the reload, the slide was in a forward position, I would just bring it in, cycle it, and bring the gun right back up. It's a pretty easy technique to do. Most people like this technique. It doesn't involve the use of your lower body whatsoever. And when we get into the lower body, we do have to be careful of covering flesh. Couple things we'll talk about on this particular reload is working the garment just a little bit. You'll see that once this goes to slide lock, I'm now trying to get this in the holster. The shirt might come over the holster. I don't know how it's going to end up for you. Maybe it stays there. I come in, grab, work it, seat it, and if I can, I want to get this into a position, since I know I'm holstering it already, where the garment, if I can, is behind the grip. I may have to manage it just for a little bit, but if I can get it as I'm reholstering, pinned behind the grip, this will allow the facilitation of this magazine going in a little bit easier. Remember, if we are in a slide forward position, we can cycle it off of a good hard belt, which is why I like wearing the Aries gear belts, and or a buckle as well. Anything that's going to be rigid. And remember, when we do cycle, it's out and away from the body. So we've covered outside the waistband, we've covered appendix carry, and now let's look at IWB. IWB is going to be one of those where we do have a few options. We could, depending upon the circumstances, go back to the holster. Okay, so my gun's in this position, I drop the magazine, and this is really going to dictate how far forward do you carry this gun. Can you get the holster pulled into a better position? Yes, I might be able to get this in the holster right here. I'm good. And then of course I reach back, and dependent upon body type, right? So if you're a bigger guy, if people would describe you as herky, then this may not work well for you. Come right back out, cycle out and away, and I'm back up and I'm shooting. Okay, but everybody manages their gun in a slightly different position. Mine is, this is about the normal position that I carry mine in. My body allows me to go back to the holster. However, sometimes when we're talking about getting it way back here just to do a reload, I'd probably be better off doing some of the other techniques that I'm about to show you next. Let's talk about the leg pinch. The leg pinch works for both weapon hand and reaction hand. It's pretty common, it's pretty simple to do. Once the gun's up on target and I drop the magazine, I then roll the gun over and I put it in between my legs, right? It's kind of in a little bit of an awkward position at first. Notice the muzzle is clear, so if for some reason when I drive this in, the slide should shut, I'm gonna be okay. Second thing is, you don't go driving the magazine in so hard that it ends up spinning the gun around. I don't want that to happen either. Now, I can grab the gun and bring it up and drop the slide. I can grab the gun and cycle it off my belt, or I can also utilize the friction of my legs so that as I'm pushing the gun out and away, I chamber on the way up. So what I'm basically doing is putting this between the legs right here, and I'm cycling it out and away to chamber one. So we have many different options that are out there that we can look at in regards to the leg pinch, but then right after the leg pinch, the way in which we chamber. Let's talk about options for down on the ground. Yeah, I can go to the holster, but nevertheless, I can drop the magazine and I can leg pinch it. Make sure if you're running, like for me, if I'm running a 34, man, that muzzle's getting real close to the ground. I reach up, grab a spare magazine. I'm not gonna cycle in this fashion anymore. I'm gonna bring the gun up and either go off the belt, the side of my body, or just drop the slide release, which is usually the easiest thing to do. That is an option, so going between the legs is an option. The next option, once you drop the magazine on the ground, is just ground the gun. Put the gun down and I'll put it next to my foot. And if I'm in this position right here doing an engagement, I'll just bring the foot in. And the reason why I bring the foot in is so that as I do this right here, it doesn't go sliding across the ground. I can bring it up, chamber off the front of the toe, keeping my muzzle in a safe direction. I can bring it in, chamber off the side right here. And I have pretty aggressive sights on the gun. It doesn't matter. You have a lot of different options to get one right back into the chamber. So we can utilize the ground, we can utilize a table, we can utilize the environment. There's a lot of different things that we can do.